What's going on, guys? It is the DeFi Crypto Alliance show where we focus on real estate and crypto here. We're doing our best to bridge the gap between those two ecosystems. We're using crypto as a wealth generation tool and real estate as a wealth preservation tool. So, welcome. If those are things that you're interested, make sure to smash the like, subscribe. We're here to pump everybody's bag. We appreciate you guys. Corey, take it away.
Absolutely. Corey Geary here. This is the DeFi Crypto Alliance show. Just having a blast out here in Miami. Running on very little sleep. It's been a blast. Just had another order come across the bridge. So I placed that money very strategically. We just did a stream with Matty Allen, guys. If you wanted to go check that out, that was earlier this morning. We were in over there. It was a lot of fun. And I'm just truly blessed to be on this journey with all of you guys. This wealth creation journey, creating maybe some legacy, true legacy wealth where you're going to be able to buy your time back for you and your family. And that is the vision that we all have for us, our friends and family alike. And yeah, man, just super excited to be here. I tell you, man, the euphoria is still not worn off. I cannot shake it, bro. And I even had problems sleeping last night. I got up a few times, and I saw you guys being active in the Telegram chat, even when after I was trying to sleep, and it was real rough, man, for me. And yeah,
We were up late last night, yeah, man.
Yeah, and then I had to be up early and go to Matty Allen's, and then now so after I get off today, I'm gonna take the family down to the beach. We're gonna go hang out there for a little while, enjoy some Miami time, and yeah, so
nice. That's awesome. Well, let me go ahead and if you guys want to jump into the stream, let me go ahead and
it's open mic day.
Today's open mic day.
Yeah,
it's gonna be fun.
We'll see how many people hop in today, being that Matty Allen's got his going, and he's got about a consistent anywhere to 400 to 600 viewers at any given time. But we got Mr. Red Squirrel in here. What up, bro, man? Oi, oi. The Tetra Master.
The Tetra Master. We're looking forward to that, man. I really am.
I am too, man. It's gonna, we got so many irons in the fire that you can use that protocol just to streamline your life if you wanted to.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you guys haven't been paying attention, the unclogging is happening right here. It is incredible to watch these stats. I believe that when I went to bed last night, I think there's essentially been 5 to 10 million that have been bridged in over the last 8-ish hours. Yes. So that is beautiful, but also down here, the deposits just keep rising. It is wild. Total 82 million coming across the bridge.
Imagine, Dane, if Richard Hart goes on Crypto Banter Monday. And then Crypto Banter, Crypto Man Ran is like, yeah, I'm in the project. I sacrificed. You guys should go and get yourself some PulseChain, because that's what he's going to do, right? He's going to shill the crap out of it and give Richard Hart the credibility that, he's well-deserved to have. And it's just, man, so if you guys are kind of on the fence about maybe putting some money over the bridge, I would just encourage maybe putting a little bit over the bridge, and hopefully you can receive it over the weekend to be nice. And you can get in there and pick up some of your favorite assets before we start seeing some massive retail getting into the ecosystem. Pulse Christians, what's up, my man? I know this guy.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you jumping in here.
One of my fellow Pulse Bitcoin brothers.
Yeah, great to be on with you guys. Thanks for doing the Open Mic Friday. It's always really entertaining. I love watching you guys whenever I can. So keep on going.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, we appreciate it, man. What are you most excited about? Are there any deals you've seen with PulseChain? Is there anything you're picking up? What are you looking at?
I actually came out with a video on my YouTube yesterday, and it was sort of going into some of the reasons why Hex outperformed so much the last cycle.
Okay.
It was talking about you guys had on the tax attorney, remember recently, very similar
topic. Identity block. I don't think he's an attorney, but he's a tax
ID. Yeah, okay. ID
tax preparation guy. Very smart individual. who was talking about how like Bitcoin typically leads in the beginning and then it moves into like riskier, more volatile assets. So that's like what we always see. They called it like alt season. So I
Yeah.
think the play, with PulseChain is like it's going to outperform, in my opinion, these other cryptocurrencies. And like the earlier that you can get into a quality asset, the more that you're going to be able to outperform the crypto market. And so similarly, I see what's going on even inside of PulseChain in the same frame. And so likely, as people have, been saying for years and years, like it's probably going to be the case that PulseChain outperforms like PulseX and some of these other tokens first, and then you'll see like an alt season inside of right. So I think the idea at this point in time, as far as in my case, and actually something that I've seen so far that has worked out for me, and I think will continue to perform, are assets that you could perceive will basically outperform in terms of PulseChain. So I'd like to look at right now, not necessarily like the dollar value of these assets, because if they're bonded in liquidity, the dollar value will continue to perform so long as like a PulseX is tied to a Pulse, or like any of these assets are tied to Pulse. But I
Yes.
think the outperformance in PulseChain comes from assets that can increase in value compared to Pulse. And so that's like some of the deals that I'm looking at right now. And I think
I
the
agree with
earlier that you can get into those assets, the better.
I agree 100%. And me and Dane were kind of touching on in the green room a little bit, and we decided to go live. I believe that like PulseX right now, one reason why it is undervalued and why it's kind of lagging a little bit. We saw Pulse already; it's already 2x above sacrifice. What's a I guess a 1x above sacrifice price because it's a 3 zeros and a 2. And PulseX is still like 4 zeros and a 6. And it's just like when remember when Hedron was really just kind of tanking and nobody was buying it and nobody was talking about it and nobody was like giving it any appreciation because there was no, I guess, use case. You could also say the same for recently
Can you
in the
hear him,
Pulse
JB? Is he breaking up on your end too?
coin uh, ecosystem.
You're breaking up a little bit, Corey. Can you hear us? You might need to go out and then come
What,
back in.
whatever he was saying was like extremely important, and I'm hanging on every word. I just can't hear it.
I think I'll try to summarize the idea that I think he's getting at, and when he pops back in, he'll explain it. And Corey, if you can hear us, you're still breaking up really bad. Yeah, I don't know. So when you looked at Hedron, we saw a massive dump out of the gates because people felt like it was a dump token, a down forever token. And then as soon as Alex spun up Icosa and you had utility, well, that's when it went and did a 30x. And I think what Corey's getting after is right now, everybody's got to buy Pulse. So many people didn't sacrifice for Pulse. You've got to get it to pay for gas. And so I think a lot of people are sleeping on PulseX. And once the single-sided staking goes live here in the next, month or so, maybe a little more, a little less, that's when you'll get more eyes there and more attention. Now, that being said, I find it fascinating. I mean, in fact, we can go and look here. So if we look at, and if you guys haven't been paying attention to this, I think it's really important. If you look at the liquidity and how thick it's bonded here, let me go over here. Farms. I mean, there is $115 million binding Pulse and PulseX together, which is just enormous. I think shout out to your friend Sami. I think it was him that was saying that this liquidity, this essentially is what did he say? I think it was the fourth. No, I apologize. That was the DEX. That was PulseX in general. It has like the fourth most liquidity in all of DEXs. And this pair in particular is so thick that according to Hart's Law, these two theoretically should move together in relation to one another. And we've seen it, which is fascinating. I had a little bit of LP in the PulseX pool before the bridge, and then I pulled it because I wanted to see how this played out with all the money flowing in. But even still with with this pair. I mean, it's been between 1 to 3 and 1 to 4 pretty well since launch, like pre-bridge even. And so theoretically, if you buy either one of these, if I'm not mistaken, they should move together and pump in relation to one another. So it's kind of similar. And it's cool with PulseX, you have the single-sided staking. In time with Pulse, well, we certainly have validating. You can earn yield on your Pulse. But Alex from Hedron and Icosa sounds like he's forking Rocket Pool, where you can go and put up your Pulse and earn a reward. So that should be fun. Really looking forward to that.
Yeah,
Corey,
likewise.
can
And
you
I
hear us?
think I've been very
Go ahead, JP.
surprised by the performance of the INC token, and I think that's been very bullish too. And I think it's
To
driving
the
a lot of
upside or
people
the
to.
downside? To the upside?
I mean, to me, just like, and I thought it was going to be like a forever dump token. You know what I mean? But a lot of
Mm.
people are speculating that maybe a single-sided liquidity pool with like INC to earn more INC would be really bullish for that asset. So I think like people are buying it for that reason.
And even still, I put up a little bit of liquidity this morning. They have the pools open now, or at least the farms open, and there's a difference between a farm and a liquidity pool. We can talk about that here in a second. But essentially, they just opened the farm where you can pair your ink to your PulseX or your ink to your Pulse, and the returns there right now are really juicy. In fact, my ink to PulseX pool right now is about 1,800% APR. Now, of course, that'll go down in time. But if you can just keep a farm, if you can just incentivize the farms in such a way that they're some of the best performing pools by pairing your ink and your Pulse and maybe even your Hex to and your Pulse X all together, then that could keep ink in a place where there's strong demand because people want to use it and pair it to go earn yield in the pools. So we shall see. I'm excited. I like the ink token, and also similarly, we've talked about this a little bit on the show, where you can go and pair or not pair, but you can go and if someone wants to build a protocol, ink has it there where people can build on top of it and burn it away, kind of like with Zen. How Zen has the burning ability in the contract, people can do that with the incentive token as well. So really bullish there, man. I want my core to be in Richard Hart stuff, and I want the ink to be part of that. And so my play is just to be earning it long term in the farm. So we'll see.
Yeah, the substance of this video that I put out was looking at some of these questions surrounding with Hex. Where did the ETH go, and how did that affect Hex during the last cycle? And so a similar question here could be, where did the SAC money go? And no expectations of the use of SAC money to pump the price of Pulse, Hex, and PulseX.
Have you been monitoring those wallets at all, or has anybody in the chat been monitoring those? Has money been moving around in those SAC wallets? I haven't been paying attention to that.
Yeah, I haven't really dived that deep into it, but definitely right before the PulseChain launch, like 20 or 30 days beforehand, you started to see some action, and it started to split up a lot of that money into different wallets.
Interesting. Yeah, it'll be really fascinating to see. Allison asks, Corey and Dane, if you have some Pulse to transact, what is the move right now? Bridge over with Hex or USDT or buying Uni? Is it still worth it to buy into Pulse right now or wait for a dip? Oh man, that is the question of all questions right there. In fact, I'd love your guys' commentary. Post in the comments, or once again, it's open mic today. If you guys want to jump in the show, come and join us. We'd love to have you. But essentially, in fact, I want to see if the ARB's been closed. So before or more recently, the USDT had a lot more buying power. It looks like it still has more buying power than like a
That's what
DAI,
I,
for instance.
yeah, that's what I bridged in, and I looked at it this
Really?
morning, and I was like, man, it's come down so much. Hopefully people start, I don't know, selling the USDT or other way around to help me out once mine finally gets into the Pulse chain.
Right. Well, initially, DAI was the stable to bridge in. So I swapped over to DAI and bridged that in. I got it this morning, and man, I almost never own Tether because there's always this constant FUD around it that's going to go to zero. But as far as we can tell right now, yeah, if you're bridging in something, USDT seems to be the stable to bridge in, at least right now, if you want to bridge in stables. And in my opinion, as far as thinking about the bridge, I mean, essentially, we're all lined up going into an amusement park. You want to get your spot in line now. And so, the longer you wait to get in line, the more people get in front of you. And so if you have capital, you want to move into the ecosystem. Yeah, I personally wouldn't hesitate on moving on in. But certainly, I mean, your friend saw me. He produced a video, I think it was yesterday, where he's saying the play might be to buy some hex over on the east side, which I think there's a reasonable thought process behind that. Maybe you take a quarter and you buy some ETH and you take 3/4 and bridge it over. There's 1,000 ways to skin that cat. PulseX is still below the sacrifice price. So for your dollars, you can get a bunch of tokens in PulseX. PulseChain is about a 2x above, or it's about a double. Yeah, 2x above the best sacrifice rate right now. And so, you've got to position yourself in such a way, in my opinion, where you're looking at it and you're building a big enough foundation out of the gate so the price runs away from you, that you're all right because you got enough. But if it dips, you have enough capital to be able to offset your what am I thinking? Your buy-in price. There's a term for it. It'll come to me eventually.
Ellison,
So that's how I would think about it.
Something I've been telling people too is that there could be other bridges that are safe that open. Like that's another speculative thing. So people are piling into this bridge. They might be waiting days or like even a week to get their money on the other side. And then in the meantime, you may be able to pass them through a bridge that opens up that might, not be clogged the same way. So there's always potential for
I've
that
heard
too.
that. That's a great point. Yeah, and that's where once again you could keep. Yeah, I think that's a great point. We've been talking about that in our group. So if you want to keep a little bit on the on the sidelines, maybe you go buy some EHEX, or I don't know, you keep it in stables in hopes that maybe you could pass up your position on the PulseRam bridge in another solution. There's something to be said about that. I was really hoping. I mean, the guys over at Power City have their Portal X swap. But for all intents and purposes, I was in a Twitter Spaces, and if I recall correctly, I think Katie was saying that won't be out for a few more weeks. So we've got some time there. But yeah, there's other people building solutions, so we'll see. Red Squirrel, this is a good point. There'll be ink staking if Richard does it or not. Yeah, somebody else will build that in, and there will be some opportunities. I want to be earning it. Like I'm interested in earning it right now. I earned it early and then I swapped it all for PulseChain, and I thought I made a great move. And here we are, PulseChain up a 2x and PulseX up and ink up more. So you never know, but I feel so good. I'm telling you guys, I legitimately, even with PulseChain up a double from the best sac price, I didn't feel confident we'd see these prices. We've talked about it a lot in our group, that if we saw these prices, we'd be very comfortable with the majority of our bags going in, and here we are. So this is pretty freaking cool. Here's another. So if you guys, well, and I already talked about it a little bit.
83 million on that bridge, I guess, or that's been deposited so far. And how long do you think it will take to reach the same amount of the PulseChain sacrifice?
I think that's a really well, and there's been speculation. I saw a tweet and they said there were some guys saying, how long do you think it'll take? Do you think that we'll have 100 million in the bridge before this catches up to 90%, or do you think the 90% will get there first? And I think, in my opinion, at the pace that the devs are moving, I think we'll get to 100 million. Especially, it sounds like it's been confirmed he's going to go on Crypto Man Rand's show. It was supposed to be today or Monday, and they're going to pump the crap out of PulseChain, PulseX, Hex, people coming over here. So I think we'll get to 100 million pretty quick. But say your question again.
What was the channel?
The channel for where they talked about that?
Or the interview with Richard, perhaps.
Oh yeah, that's Crypto Man Ran. In fact, I'll show you guys. So actually, let me pull it over here. I'll pull it up on Twitter and you guys can see. All right, let me find it. It's right here. In fact, let's just play it real quick. Can you hear? Can you hear that? No? Nothing? You can't hear it? Okay. Don't worry about it. So essentially,
Is
here's
this
Maddie
crypto
Allen, and then
banter on YouTube?
yep, crypto banter, exactly. So he is right. Where is he?
Wow, that's like over 600,000 subscribers on there.
Yeah, he's one of the biggest channels in all of crypto. And him and Richard, where is he? Crypto Man Ran, I think is what it is. There he is. So this is Ran, and he has the Crypto Banter Show. And you can see, I mean, he's got 700,000 followers. He has arguably one of the biggest YouTube channels in all of crypto. They're always pumping different things and talking about different things. And the fact that he and Richard are friends, and he's offering support, man. I don't think I'll be able to find it here, but he's been offering like open vocal support for Richard, which is really really cool to see. And oh yeah, here he is. So he even retweeted this K for K tweet where he's got the little eyes looking at this. I mean, I think that's pretty well confirmation he's going to have Richard on here ASAP. And so, man, I hate to say it, I can't tell you guys how many times we've seen people go on Twitter and say like, "Get your buys in now before everything comes and pumps," and then it does the opposite and it goes down because they're selling. But man, there's so many bullish indicators right now. I'm having a hard time. I'm having a hard time not wanting to go and just deploy all my capital. So figure out a strategy for yourself. We got Corey back. Can you hear us all right, Corey?
I'm back and I'm on my cell phone now. Can you guys hear me?
Okay.
Yes.
Yep, we got you, man.
My
Finish your heater on top.
computer and Wi-Fi shit the bed. Thank God I'm not running a node validator here out of the hotel because that would be
right.
it'd be no bueno.
Right.
So
Yeah, finish your heater on top.
oh, and I heard you were kind of finishing it too. I was just saying when people are basically forgetting about the use case or sleeping on the utility or they're chasing one asset over another. The Hedron, what happened there was everyone thought it was a dump token, right? And everyone thought like it would never have no utility in the future, so like it was basically just dying. And literally that was the time to be buying it. And right now I really feel like PulseX this is the time to buy it, because once the staking protocol rolls out and we have stuff to stake in for third-party token, that is when you're going to see people really start to buy up PulseX, because now it has its utility. It's going to have this sexy like 40 to 60% APY, right? And it's just going to be madness. And that's when I really think we can see PulseX catch up and break that 3 to 4 to 1 ratio. Now, I'm not sure about this, but I really believe this is what's going to happen with that asset. And so, and we can see the asset really lag, if it takes a month or two for the staking to get integrated. Anybody who's coming in right now, say, for example, you're talking about Crypto Man Ran, if people are coming in from Ran's stream, they're probably going to be buying Pulse, right? And they're probably be ignoring PulseX, which, in my honest opinion, it will be the mistake. I think PulseX is going to do amazing long term. The staking feature, the fact that I can earn yield, I'm a freaking yield junkie. I love making passive income. It sings to me, right? And so I want to make sure my bags are packed in the PulseX asset. Why people are basically thinking that it don't have much use case right now, because it doesn't right now, but it's going to. Just how Hedron did, you know what I mean?
Right.
And when people forget about the asset and are sleeping on it or not talking about it, that is the time to accumulate when it's most uncomfortable. It's the time to accumulate the asset. We just saw this Pulse Christians over in the Pulse Bitcoin ecosystem on Ethereum this last couple months have been I would say probably the best accumulation zone. If somebody wanted to go in there and accumulate that asset, then they would have got their copy over on PulseChain, and now it's doing pretty well. It's been pumping for the last 2 or 3 days. And so when people are sleeping on the assets, that's the time to accumulate if you're in love with them. Obviously, you got to be in love with them yourself. You got to see the use case. You got to have your own bullish sentiment behind the asset. But man, PulseX, bro, I freaking love that asset.
Me too. So excited for PulseX, and the buy and burn has just absolutely been insane. In fact, I think that we're still on pace. So we've got, everyone's speculating that it's Richard's team. They have their own nodes, and they're burning all of the pulse that they're earning in fees from running those nodes. And comparing the burn there, in fact, do they have it on this website? Comparing the burn there to PulseX, I think PulseX is about 10 times the burn, which is pretty insane. And when you put that in comparison, I believe the liquid supply between the two is similar as well, is it not?
Yeah, So I get mixed, and if anyone knows in the comment
Mixed
for
data.
sure, but I hear mixed opinions that PulseX is 142. No, it's 14.2 trillion, or is it 17.2 trillion? I asked in the Telegram rooms, and they told me 14.2. And then I see on Twitter people posting it's 17.2. So if anyone knows in the chat for sure what the PulseX supply is, I would like to know. I packed my bags around the idea that it's 17.2, because when I'm DCAing into a project or a protocol, I like to look at it like, what is it going to take for me to achieve a sea creature that I like, right? So you have your whale. Well, you have your Poseidon, you have your whale, you have your dolphin, you have your shark, you have your turtle. And I tend to go after at least a dolphin position. I try to anyways, depending on the asset. Obviously, Hex is a very difficult one to get dolphin for a lot of people, unless you're doing the HSI auctions. You have an opportunity there, which is where I grabbed mine from. But if you're a dolphin in an asset class, if it really starts moving, you're gonna experience some momentum. Like that's like where it starts to get real. If you're a shark, you're really gonna experience some momentum, and shit's gonna get really real. But so I like to achieve for a supply in an asset class. And so like what PulseX, I don't know what the actual supply is. I wish I had more. I see mixed. I guess we could ask Richard himself. I don't know.
Right. And I'll share you guys the screen so you can see what Corey's talking about.
There's an argument to be made that that's also a position that you can take on the rarity of the Ethereum wrapped tokens. And I think that's really important to be stated, because right now there's a rarity factor when it comes to having USDT, wrapped ETH, DAI, USDC. And we can see that because the relative value of USDT recently was 2 times the amount of DAI.
Ridiculous.
USDT. Yeah. So in my opinion, what that goes to show is that actually Pulse and PulseX and all these tokens in dollar terms are undervalued compared to if people were just freely able to buy these tokens. And so that could also be a factor, because it takes so much time to actually move out of PulseChain across that bridge as well. So I believe when these wrapped tokens lose their rarity value in comparison to Pulse, it's actually going to be very bullish for the price of Pulse. And the more that the wrapped tokens come into this ecosystem, there's $80 million that has moved through this, or that's basically poised to move through this bridge. When all of that hits, it just means that that these tokens that are worth money, quote unquote, because they're wrapped from Ethereum, they're actually just going to be worth less because there's more of them on PulseChain. So that's why ideas like that, that's what gives me the FOMO. and that's what gives me like the
Yeah.
Right.
full pop it
Right.
into these tokens ASAP. You know.
Yeah,
Right.
I 100% agree with that, and that's why we did see these wacky. Like people kept saying, "Oh, well, the your USDC is undervalued." No, I think it's more like the DAI was overvalued, and now it's the case with USDT. People like in our group are like, "Hey, everything's undervalued except for USDT." No, it's just the USDT is overvalued because there's such a limited supply on the chain.
Right.
Like, I wish I'd have been smart enough to think about that when I was first sending money over. I would have sent
Me too.
I would have sent it in thirds, right? Like of each to see which one would give you the best value. But you don't think about something so simple that would happen that you could really capitalize on. It sucks, but either way, I'm happy with the way everything played out. Happy where my bags are at, and I can't complain. We're truly blessed.
Well, that's why
Yeah.
like it's actually so rare for people to, you know, really do like a 10,000x, because the way that happened in Hex was some people like they put even just a couple $100 into Hex at the very
Right.
bottom, like that very
Right.
bottom day. And so that's the kind of opportunity like where people are going to have those bragging rights with Pulse and PulseX, in my opinion,
Yep.
because they just happen to catch like USDT at its top, like when Pulse was
Right.
trading at its very low, and maybe, you know, heck, they could even get a 20,000x from that price. Who knows?
Who knows?
Right.
I hope they do, because that means no matter where I buy around this time period, I'll experience some mad gains, right? Whether it's a 500x, whether it's even a 100x, or whether it's a 1000x. Like all those to me and my portfolio would change the trajectory of me and my family's life forever.
Change your family tree.
Yes. So
Yep.
Personally,
Yeah,
that's
so I
the
hope
feeling
somebody
that I
does.
get with the Pulse Bitcoin halving coming up. You know, I
Yes.
foresee, like, just like how you had mentioned before, with like this token being perceived as like a dump token during its like hyperinflationary period. There was even like panic where on Dex Screener, because of like the way that the liquidity was moving in the pools, it appeared as if that token was absolutely worthless, like literally worth zero. And so to me, that shows like peak capitulation. And I'm someone with full certainty in that asset.
Yeah.
So that just means
I
that
know
I'm
you
able
are.
to take advantage of
You're one
those
of my
periods
Pulse
of time.
Bitcoin brothers.
100%. So with the halving coming up in 8 days, like, you know, it doesn't happen immediately. Like you don't see, you know, Bitcoin like skyrocket to the moon like the day of the halving, but it definitely influences that price chart over time. So I'm in this for the long haul. Like I'm not someone who's like a trader.
For
I'm not
sure.
someone like popping in and out
With
of
all
assets.
these assets.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
look at
Right.
like in all of these tokens, like it's such a blessing to be here at this time. It was like a really hard bear market. You know, we all like just had to watch,
Yes.
you know, our assets just dump in price, and like it's going to be a beautiful thing. I'm going to be here for years and years and years, even after this next cycle. So it's just a blessing to, you know, be able to meet with you guys, and thank you for opening up this mic. And I'll step down now so that someone else can chat with you.
Absolutely, my man. I
Thanks
appreciate
for joining
you.
us.
And next time you're in the Twitter spaces, I'll make sure to come in and say hi and hop on stage with you and hopefully help you pump a little bit of your bags. I'm still holding my Pulse Bitcoin position over on the PulseChain. I went ahead and tried it. Well, I sold what I could over on the Ethereum side because I really believe Pulse Bitcoin was built for PulseChain. I never bought the narrative of how some of the guys were like, "Oh, if PulseChain never launches, Pulse Bitcoin's gonna do fine." I'm gonna tell you, I got news for you guys. If PulseChain don't launch, none of these assets are gonna do fine, including Hex. There's that narrative too. Oh, Hex will do fine if PulseChain don't launch. Bullshit.
Yeah.
Bullshit. None of these will
Right.
do well without PulseChain because they're all tied to this ecosystem and built for this ecosystem. So now that PulseChain's launched, even myself, I can get a lot more bullish on all these assets and knowing that they have a future and a new home to live in with cheaper gas fees and with communities that really believe and can surround, get around the campfire and hoorah all these assets. It's just going to be an absolute blessing. And I'm excited for the future for all of them, including Pulse Bitcoin and Pulse Litecoin. What Hex Info ever rolls that out, it'd be exciting to see what he's got in store for that. And yeah, man, I've never been more excited in my life. In fact, I've slept maybe like, geez, I got to stop. It's been like 6 hours by the last. That's how much I've slept in the last like 5 days. My wife,
Right.
my wife thinks I'm crazy.
There's always another thing to be paying attention to and staying up late for, right?
There
Oh,
is, man.
I will add this. I will add this is like that we're in a new paradigm right now in DeFi, and I just feel like the general market doesn't understand that. You can even look at things like Zen and just see like DeFi
Yep.
is taking over the world, and that you don't have to. I'm not saying like go out and buy Zen, but here's what I am saying. I am saying that there's hundreds of thousands of people inside of cryptocurrency who are taking it upon themselves to be a part of these communities, to like develop tools, to develop like extra ways of adding more value, to like reach out to
Yep.
communities who are not a part of cryptocurrency. And basically it's all coming together with like this massive crescendo, in my opinion, of PulseX and Pulse going viral. And no matter where you are within PulseChain, you're going to benefit from that, I believe.
I believe so too. 100%. We will see a lot of the. I think you were alluding to it earlier, where the blue chip assets will go up first, and then a lot of that liquidity flows out, and then goes into the more speculative, more moonshot type assets. And I've told Dane many times, or we've talked about it many times. I think like the 100x or even 1000x. I don't think we'll see that happen in Pulse or PulseX. We're going to see it in some of these other speculative assets being built with a lot lower economic energy from a starting point. And so you're going to see these really do some amazing things. That's why you see the meme coins do what they do, is because they start with very low liquidity. There's very low economic energy behind them, and then they get shilled, and then people flood in by the masses and then buy green candles and pump the thing of a 5,000x or a 10,000x or 300,000x in the terms of Pepe. And so it's quite remarkable. And we're going to see so much of this happen in our ecosystem. I'm so amazing,
I just
man.
keep looking over at this picture that you have up, like whale, shark, dolphin, squid. Dude, get somewhere on that. I'm just telling you right now.
Yes.
Get somewhere on that. Anywhere that you land, it's going to feel great.
Agreed. And that's
And
how I always.
specifically, if you look at the pricing right now, I know Corey talked about a dolphin position. I mean, if we look at a dolphin position to buy it, I mean, if you buy it right now, a dolphin position costs just over 100 grand to buy at these prices right now. If you were to get it at the best sacrifice rate, that was $172,000. Now you got some bonuses, so I would argue it's probably sixes right now. Like this is like getting in at the best sacrifice rate, including bonuses, if you go and build your PulseX bag right now, which is wild.
It's correct. And you don't have to go for a dolphin, right? Like not everyone's got that kind of economic energy. And even my friend Sami said in his video, like a squid is an absolutely amazing position in any of the blue chip asset classes. Like when you get more in the speculative asset classes, it's easier to go after those dolphins and sharks. The blue chips, obviously, there's a lot more money involved, so it's harder to get up the ladder. But yeah, pick one. Kind of how Pulse Christian said, a squid is fine, and even a turtle's fine. If that's all the economic energy you have, great. Grab your turtle and PulseX, grab your turtle and PulseChain, and then maybe go find a dolphin and like something like, Tetra. Find a dolphin in Pulse Bitcoin. Find a dolphin in Hedron. Find a dolphin in Icosa. And then, then you're playing the speculative game with a nice foundation of the blue chips.
Sure. I like it.
Love you guys.
I like it.
Love you guys.
All right, brother,
Happy
man.
Appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
Bye. Cool. Let's move this back over here.
Yeah, Pulse Christian's a cool dude. I've been in the Twitter Spaces a few times with him doing the Pulse Bitcoin
Okay.
chat rooms.
Very cool. I agree about PulseX closing the gap on Pulse in the medium long term. I'm accumulating Pulse. I can trade for some PulseX if it goes over 4-1. I have too. In fact, that's been a narrative that a lot of people talked about, that Pulse would gain on PulseX real significantly. But man, there's just so much liquidity binding those two together. I'm having I'm having a harder time right now seeing a big giant divide over a 1 to 4. It doesn't mean that it couldn't happen. I'm
Yeah.
excited to see how that plays out. What do you think, Corey?
Yeah, I think you're 100% right with all this liquidity bonding it together. Although it's going to be very interesting when they roll out staking. I think PulseX can really get some bullish momentum behind it. Now, whether it brings up Pulse with it, which it could, right, because of the Hart's law, it could bring up Pulse and Hex with it because of the way it's tied. Or PulseX really does kind of, run up on its own. It's going to be very interesting to see. Also, I guess another thing we can take in consideration is like once this, we got another $70 million waiting in the bridge. And then if Crypto Man Rand comes on and gets us another 100 million trying to cross that bridge, I would anticipate and argue that the majority of new retail money coming in is probably going to buy Pulse.
Right. Agreed.
I could be wrong, but I don't think Crypto Man Rand sacrificed for Pulse X.
That's
I could be
interesting.
wrong
That's a
about
good
that.
point.
And they're gonna pump their bags, right? That's
Right.
That's what they do. That's how I got introduced to crypto. It was crypto banter, and he would shill something on the show, and I'd have my laptop sitting next to me, and I would buy it as soon as he shilled it, and it was always a green candle. And then and it's always the mornings. He's a morning show, and by the end of the day, I'd go check my portfolio, and sure enough, man, massive red candle. I'm like, man, all I was doing, and I didn't realize at the time, is I was just exit liquidity over and over and over again.
Sure.
Ugh.
That's a good question. Yeah, what was the low on PulseX? I think it was if you had USDT and you bought it the most opportune time. I think it would have been 4 zeros and a 2, or like a 1-7, something like that.
Yeah, it dropped below, just a tad under 2.
Okay. Yeah.
Freaking remarkable, man. I mean,
remarkable.
I think and this is how Pulse Christians was alluding to, if you would have caught that perfectly with the correct stable coin, that's where you can see the 1000x or maybe the 10,000x or whatever we see. And that's how Richard obviously will compare the price charts when it comes time to basically, gloat a little bit and show our report card.
Right.
That's how he's going to do it. And that's fine. As long as I can catch the majority portion of it, I am perfectly happy.
Agreed. No, and right now, I mean, we're only, I know I say only, but we're essentially only a 3x from that low, and still, almost, and 40% down from the best sacrifice rate on PulseX. I think that's the play right now. I really do.
Yeah, I like it, man. I like it a lot, and we know it has good use case coming up in the future. It's not here yet. People have already forgot about it, and it's got the buy and burn, man. And is it buy and burn just a narrative? I don't think so, man. Let's see how it really plays out and how 3, 4, 5 months down the road, it's consistent, man. All it does is sit there and buy and burn it consistently, and it's going to be quite remarkable to watch it do its thing over time, and it will take some time.
And it's cool right now too at these lows. It's burning more right now at these lows than it will as price goes up, which is cool. If you have PulseX, man, dump it now. We want to get it out, get it redistributed. Let's get stuff burned while we're low.
Yeah. Let's go.
Oh, that's a good comment. Yeah, it's like a turtle rabbit race. Turtle gets ahead of rabbit when turtle sleeps. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And
it'll be.
I absolutely agree with that. And that's how some of these assets turn into. It's so exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. So you guys, we gotta jump off here today. A nice and tight show. Me and Corey have things we gotta run off and do. But go ahead and smash the like, subscribe. We're here to pump all of our bags. We appreciate you guys tuning in. If you're new here, we appreciate you as well. And otherwise, we'll catch you guys on Monday.
See you guys.
See ya.